Now, someone's listening. What are the top five things that they need to do to prevent having getting cavities?
Well, that's a topic that we love to talk about because dentistry always the way they trained us, and again, by the way, everything we're talking about, we're guilty of it ourselves. So we did root canals. We thought we were doing it at a high level back in the day. I never did mercury fillings because I just hated the looks of it, so I just took them out. Um, but nutrition is a big fluoride, fluoride, and all that. Fluoride. We did also so most of the time they would say, do fluoride treatments, fluoride in the water. For us, definitely not a good idea. We're not for that. But nutrition specifically, we talk about it a lot because what happens, dentistry, all they talk about is brushing and flossing. You've got to brush and you're going to floss. What kind of, fluoridated toothpaste you have to use? Brush and floss, brush and floss. And people come in and they're frustrated and they're like, I brush and floss all the time. Every time I come in, I have like 6 or 7 cavities, right? So now, in biological dentistry, we realize it's about nutrition, right? It's not just, the brushing and the flossing to kind of stabilize it a little bit in your mouth and your microbiome a little bit is the minor part of it. The major part of it is what kind of diet and nutrition you have. Because if you're low on vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, and K2, you're not going to be pulling calcium into the teeth, right? No one talks about that. So the studies have shown if you're not pulling calcium properly into the teeth, you're going to get a lot of cavities,
Okay.
right?
Low vitamin D levels is a big thing. Of course, again, nutrition overall. This is something that we've known actually for a long time. The work of Weston A. Price, if you're familiar with him, was a dentist in the 30s
Of
that
course.
did a lot of research on this. Great book. I recommend everyone to look him up. He went to indigenous villages around the world that were not exposed to the Western diet. And he saw people with full arches, no cavities, poor hygiene, but they didn't brush on a daily basis. They didn't have
Mm,
Crest toothpaste and mouthwash, all these products that actually are
mm.
disrupting the oral microflora, which is an important aspect of this as well, more than anything else. So instead, they had great diets, natural diets, high in protein, high in good fats, high in getting nutrition from all these sources
Mm.
that were filling up their minerals and micronutrients like we talked about. And then they had proper jaw development at the same time, not needing to take their wisdom teeth out, not having crowded teeth,
Yeah,
everything functioning better because of what? Nutrition.
yeah,
The
yeah.
basics. What makes you healthy systemically is what makes you healthy orally.
Absolutely. Okay, so nutrition's number one. Even a lot of these people that Weston Price went to, they were being breastfed till the age of 4 and 5, and I'm sure that must have helped their palates as well. The reduction of breastfeeding, so important for that palate to develop. So important. The best food you can find is breast milk. So there's a lot of factors, and my audience is quite well versed in nutrition. So I think we'll put it at that and say, obviously, your microbiome, whether it's your oral, whether it's your nasal microbiome, whether it's your skin microbiome, wherever that microbiome and that good flora and that bacteria is crucially important. Let's talk just another for cavities, because this is something that has plagued me. Having not missed a single day's work in 27 years, never taken a sick note, no Western medicine in 27 years. I still battle with my biological dentist. I get some tartar right at the bottom of these two front teeth here that develop. And I'm convinced that because I need a bite plate, and I want to talk about bruxing, clenching, and bracing, because these things are very, very important, related possibly to the vagus nerve, and that I wear the bite plate in, and I don't think, and I do breathe through my nose because that's been crucially important. I think there's a little bit of air that comes through. And if people are mouth breathers, maybe give us your experience on what happens with regards to cavities and mouth breathing.
So, Joe, should we address the mouth breathing or the grinding? You mentioned grinding as well.
Well, I think the
So
grinding second. The reason I'm wearing a bite plate is that I've seen more bruxes and grinders more and more. I think there's a tiny gap that a little bit of air comes in. I think that's why the tartar comes through to the front because we can talk about my protocol, but I do think there's something that's happening if you're a mouth breather with regards to cavities.
absolutely.
Well, it's a good point that you brought up. So Ben and I also were diplomats in sleep apnea. Okay. So we work with a lot of MDs that were treating sleep apnea for them when patients are diagnosed by the medical doctors. So what happens is that when you're mouth breathing, right, you're not nasal breathing. It's a major issue because you're not getting nitric oxide production. So you have to be nasal breathing, as you know, right? So, and a lot of patients that have sleep apnea that is undiagnosed, first of all, they're grinding. So 87% of the patients that grind, they usually have some sort of sleep apnea issue, okay? And it's undiagnosed. So what happens is dentists see the grinding on the teeth, they see the byproduct of it. They're like, oh, you're grinding, we have to put you in a night guard or some kind of bite guard, right? And unfortunately, that actually makes the sleep apnea worse. Okay. So it's very critical when we have patients, we want to find out why they're grinding, right? And if it is, we set them for a sleep study. We tell the medical doctor they should go and get a sleep study done first. And then we find out if they first have sleep apnea or not, or why the grinding is happening. And a lot of patients, if they're not breathing well from their nostrils, we send them to an ENT to open it up because the nitric oxide production is huge for, as you know, for the whole body. Nitric oxide is so critical. So, the grinding issue is very important on where it's coming from. We have to distinguish, like I said, I mean, that's a big number. 87% have sleep apnea, which is undiagnosed. We did our residency at UCLA in sleep apnea. So these are the things that we studied, and we realized that it's such a critical airway, is such a critical point of your whole body. And if you're not getting it, and like I said, no one really talks about it. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
To add about what you were mentioning about mouth breathing, a couple more things to talk about regarding that. One, when you're mouth breathing, it is drying out your mouth and your gums and your teeth of some of that saliva, the important saliva, that good microbiome that's in that flora is actually protecting your teeth. One of the things that we have to realize is that the saliva is a protection for these teeth. Now, when there's lack of saliva due to mouth breathing, now the gums, a lot of times you see more inflammation. You also get more cavities. So when you reduce saliva in general, like people that do cancer treatment, their salivary index changes, that they have less saliva. They're more prone to cavities. Now, so one of the things that we should say is, yes, Sean said, we want if someone's mouth breathing, we need to address it. Why? Now, is there inflammation in their nasal airway? Is there obstruction in their nasal airway? A lot of times, again, there's probably some dietary influence. Inflammation in the body, again, pretty consistently is related to a hyper-inflammatory diet, which is the Western diet. Hyper-inflammatory, causing many causes of the airway issues for adults and for kids, enlarged adenoids, enlarged tonsils. For kids, that are also causes mouth breathing for kids. Now, when this happens, you are now losing out on nitric oxide, you're causing problems in sleep quality, like mentioned, but it's all connected. And ultimately, yes, there's things like mouth taping. I like to mouth tape. I actually do it for my kids as well. But you have to be careful. Mouth taping is not for everyone. If you have nasal obstruction at all, or sleep apnea related nasal obstruction, mouth taping will make it worse. So you have to make sure it's the right thing to do for you and address the inflammation that's maybe obstructing your airway and nasal airway. And then support, and it's almost like a reminder to close your mouth. You don't want to force the situation with mouth taping. That's something I wanted to address too.